Round 2 continues here in the South Pacific, here at the Billabong Pro Tahiti with Adriano De Souza, current world number 7, surfing against Nathan Hedge, the wild card coming from the trials. He's been in Tahiti for a long time. He was a former WCT full-time competitor and took a serious hiatus from the jersey. And now we're seeing the second coming of Nathan Hedge, back with the fire with a goal to re-qualify for the WCT, and now in a venue where he was one of the first to really prove himself as fearless at the wave here at Teahupo'o.
You know, and unfortunately dislocating his shoulder in the process, but I'll tell you what, this man has got so much talent. He's looking way fitter than I've ever seen him. He's looking way more committed. He's back on track. He's dealt with all the stuff he's got to deal with. He's come out the other end twice as strong, mentally stronger as well. So, you know, he's going to be a tough nut for Adriano De Souza to get past right now. Nathan Hedge is not scared of this wave. He's proven that he's got what it takes to do well out here. So I'm looking forward to this heat. It's going to be a battle.
Well, you look at Nathan Hedge with his year he's had in 2014. He's been almost in every single event. When you check out ASPWorldTour.com, you're seeing him at 1 stars with a win to start off the whole year. He's going to all the big prime events. He did well in the trials back at Margaret River and got a spot in the main event back then. So now we'll see him second time with this CT wildcard kind of feel here at Teahupo'o.
Yeah, I saw him at J-Bay as well. So he's pretty much getting the feel back, and I think he's made it quite clear that he wants back on the tour. You know, Aritz Baru got back on, Jadson Andre got back on. You know, so why not him? You know, he's surfing good enough to do it. You know, he's got himself in the right place, and you know, good luck to him.
It's interesting when you look at the contrast of De Souza coming up on the World Tour at such a young age and remaining in contention for a top 10, top 5 sort of feel throughout. With 31 on the clock, priority still isn't set yet. And we haven't had a wave ridden so far, Potts.
You know, 5 minutes gone. Well, just under 5 minutes gone. So, and you know, these guys are going to play the patience game. They just saw what happened to Tuamata. They're not going to push the issue. They're going to make sure the waves they catch are the ones they can make. You know, you've got to make sure you're on the gems here this afternoon. It's a very tricky afternoon. A lot of bump on the face of the wave. The wave is kind of chandeliering, so I think that might play into Nathan Hedge's hands. It's easier to maneuver yourself through the barrel on your forehand, whereas on your backhand you've got to kind of grab the rail and set that line. But I tell you what, you know, Adriano De Souza looked good in his early heat.
Well, Nathan Hedge takes the first wave, 2-hand drag. Just a quiet little barrel, and he pops out. So a small score to get things underway, and De Souza will now hold priority. He'll wait no longer, pulling right into the pit. Easy on the exit for De Souza. Bigger barrel as he'll take the lead.
There we go. So Adriano De Souza probably got the better of that exchange. Just spending a little bit more time behind the curtain, showing the judges some stalling techniques that the natural footers use. They normally drag a certain part of their body in the wave just to slow themselves down. The technique that it's very hard for the natural footers, I mean the goofy footers to do. And when I say goofy foot, I mean they stand with their right foot forward, so they literally face the wave. A natural footer stands with his left foot forward, so he's got his back to the wave, a different technique involved. And some may say that it's a little bit more critical, but I think it's pretty much an even playing field.
Potts, back when you were Grom looking at your heroes that came before you, would you ever kind of look at your own footage in the mirror or look at goofy footers and watch them in the mirror to see what they look like as a natural footer? As we get back to that, here's the replay of De Souza.
Yeah, you can see Adriano there dragging that butt, putting his backside into the wave, and what that does is it just wipes a bit of speed off and allows him to spend a little bit more time behind the curtain, and that's what pretty much comes into the judges' criteria. The amount of time spent disappeared from view. That is determine how long you're in the barrel, and the more time you spend behind that curtain, the bigger your score is going to be. But back to your question, no, I used to just look at the guys you know, I appreciated, you know, the Sean Thompsons, the Mark Richards, Tom Carroll, Shane Horan. You know, I always imagined myself being a regular foot Tom, you know, trying to emulate that power. But you know, I sort of had the natural footers that I looked to. I think Tom was the only goofy that I really respected and looked towards, but I think the rest were all natural footers.
As you look at that, there's always been a great rivalry between the two. Nathan Hedge from a crazy board riders club called North Narrabeen in the northern beaches of Sydney, Australia. 35 years of age. We saw this kid come up so young in all those awesome search movies with Tom Curran. qualified for the World Tour, was dangerous when he was on tour. Now he's coming back. Now let's get caught up with former world champ Joel Parkinson on the boat with Rosie Hodge.
That's right, Joel Parkinson, incredibly close heat this morning with Ace back and in fact tying. Did that kind of make you a little bit hungrier for this round number 2?
Yeah, I suppose, when the waves are like this, it's, as hard as it is to lose, I guess it's still like I still got to surf this afternoon. I mean, the wind was a little into it, but it was so good out there.
And once the wildcard had hurt himself, you pretty much had the lineup to yourself. Did you feel like you could have come in and conserved your energy, or did you relish the fact that you had Teahupo'o all to yourself?
Yeah, I definitely just, you don't get moments like a Teahupo'o by yourself. It was like a practice session in a way. I mean, but, the heat definitely, when someone gets hurt in a heat, it really, you psych up for it, you get all pumped, and all of a sudden all that energy and all that, you kind of turns to a bit like, oh, I hope he's all right, and, it really deflates, I guess, because he was all pumped up too, we wanted a battle, and, but, I guess guys really go for it out here, and saying that, man, I hope he's all good, and I hope, it sounds like he's hurt his neck, but it should be okay.
All right, Joel, we'll look forward to seeing you in round 3 coming on later this week.
Can I just say hello to my wife and kids? I miss you guys. Love yous.
Thanks, Joel. Back up to you boys.
Thanks, Rosie. Joel Parkinson's been known for taking his entire family, all the kids, around to all the venues. So right there, I'm already missing them dearly. Enjoying the fact that he got the heat win, but a tough one there. He's ultra competitive. He wants a battle in waves like this. What does that tell you, Potts, to Joel's demeanor in this event?
He wants a battle. He doesn't want to win like that. He doesn't want the guy to get hurt. He wants to get pushed to the limits. He wants, and basically with the good guys, with the world champs, that brings out the best in them. These easy heats that something happens and it's kind of a default. These guys don't want to win like that. They want to have that full matchup, that battle royale. And what that does is it just produces the best surfing possible, and that's what these guys want, and that's what we want.
Well, remember Joel back at the Code Red Swell. He did lose in round 2 to Brett Simpson, so now with a great forecast ahead of him, he'll get to relish in perfect conditions out here at the Billabong Pro Tahiti. One thing we reflect back on that swell as well, when Owen Wright met Kelly Slater in the final in 2011. First thing Owen looked up to Kelly and asked, he's like, wow, you've been on tour for so long, what keeps you going? And he looked at Owen and said, hey, there's no one out. It's perfect. I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly right. It's those moments that motivate the best surfers in the world. You've got to keep digging deep for them. You've got to keep finding those things that make it worthwhile. Going the hard yards, getting on the airplane, spending that time going through airports, living out of a suitcase. People say it's a dream job. Yes, it is, but it is a job nonetheless. And I think if you don't treat it that way, if you don't treat it accordingly, it's so easy to come unstuck. So, you've got to do the hard yards. You can't just turn up at a place like Fiji or Teahupo'o, Tahiti, and make it feel like a holiday. You're here to work. Yes, it is beautiful, and there's palm trees, and the weather's great, but you're here to do some business, and that's to win heats.
And it's all about the world title, which is the dream for De Souza in this matchup. Hasn't made a final yet in 2014. Does that surprise you, Pot?
Yes, it does. The kid's amazing. Won Bells last year. I was expecting bigger things from him at Bells this year. Unfortunately, sustaining an injury in Bali on his time off, and I think that hindered his performance at J Bay. But he looks like he's back. It looks like he's in good form again. So, the year's not over. He surfs good at Trestles. He surfs good in Europe, and he proved last year at the end of the year that he's now got it a pipe. So, looking for big things from him.
Well, we have Peter Mel, former big wave world champion, out in the lineup right now. Pete, you went through the Surfline forecast. You've been out in the water all day. Any surprises for you condition-wise at this stage?
No, they were pretty spot on. I mean, Surfline definitely called a little bit of this northeast kind of stuff to come in, and we see a sea breeze, and we're seeing it right now. Luckily, it's been kind of staying off the, really affecting the waves too much. I mean, there's a little fluff on it, but not too bad. But I just wanted to I'm out in the channel. I'm actually all the way in the channel. 100 feet deep below me right here. And that's what makes this wave so special, right? It's 100 feet deep, and it's made by those mountains behind me. You see those two big valleys? That's where that fresh water comes down, and it comes down right into the zone. And then it made a low spot in the reef, and all the current carved its way over millions of years to create this special place on Earth. And again, it's 100 feet deep, and you guys have been talking about it. There's nothing that'll allow these waves to stop. They just are freight training down the reef and out of that 100 feet into 10 feet. And that's what makes that wave so special and so crazy as far as the meat and potatoes that thing has. It's like black water. And that's what you talk about, right? And that's why, because it's so deep.
Now, Pete, I noticed that you're moving out towards sea. Is that the rip going out?
It's definitely moving out here, Potts. I'm trying to stay in position. It's definitely moving. You know, again, it's just so deep, and all the water there. I mean, there's reef pass that runs all the way up to Papeete, and then all the way around the corner, and there's just little zones where water can move out of here, and this is one of the spots that has the most water moving out.
Very impressive. Well, Pete, I know you've surfed a lot of slabs around the world. Have you found anything to really compare to this side of setup at Teahupo'o?
I would say no. Not for the part of perfection part of it. I mean, it's so just ruler edge. You know, slabs usually generally going to be a real quick kind of, you know, sometimes off steps in it and, you know, the ship sterns and all that kind of stuff, and not so perfect. This is one of the most perfect lefts in the world, and it's most challenging wave in the world, and that's why we're here for the World Championship Tour.
A pretty impressive showcase of talent here on the World Tour. Pete, one of the fearless chargers that have surfed this place, maxed out. Thanks for the insight from way outside of the channel. You can see how deep he is sitting in water. That is, you can't even see the bottom. And then you can paddle up to the reef. And a lot of the world's best take the time on flat days to grab a snorkel mask and check out this beautiful reef. They can actually scare themselves sometimes because they really realize how close they are to the impact zone.
Yeah, I actually did that at Pipeline one year and wished I'd never done that, because there's caves and caverns and trenches, and, you know, and very similar here where, you know, pretty easy to get stuffed into a little crevice and really do some damage. So, you know, wave of consequence, as I always say, and you've got to be really prepared, you know, mentally, physically. You've got to have that go for it attitude. You can't afford to hesitate one little bit. That little bit of hesitation creates a little bit of doubt, and that little bit of doubt can really make you come unstuck.
That's right, Potts. Well, it's on at the Billabong Pro Tahiti with De Souza out in front with a 6.67. Nathan Hedge with a 3.60. And it's a slow start to this heat. We've seen a serious low so far. Nathan Hedge got the first wave, just got in the 3 range. De Souza picked the wave right after him. We're seeing a lot of weights in between, the real perfect gems at this moment. Potts, as we look back on a massive opening day of competition, who are some of the all-stars that really left a message on this opening day?
You know, we always talk about, you know, Kelly Slater not being in the mix for the world title. Well, he's in the mix for the world title, but an uncharacteristic 6th place. So, you know, that's pretty much as low as Kelly goes. But, you know, in saying that, I think one of the standout performances straight out of the gates, not an early guy, hates getting up and too early and surfing those early heats, but really came to today with a mean streak and surfed incredibly well. I thought Mick Fanning, coming off a win at Bells Beach, J Bay, I beg your pardon, is looking absolutely sharp as, and he's going to be a tough one to beat as well. Gabriel Medina, you know, everyone was questioning the fact of, you know, he's never surfed Teahupo'o this big. I think he looked a little bit shaky in the beginning, but then came through at the end with the goods. So, you know, he's looking pretty good. I think the other one that stood out for me was Nat Young. Nat Young came out, you know, 2nd year on tour, looked like a seasoned veteran out here at Teahupo'o.
Impressive day with still a few heats to go and 20 minutes on the clock. De Souza, the 6.67, as we wait to see his first final of the season. We saw him do amazing things in his career at Bells Beach with a huge win, Mundaka in the past, so he knows what it's like to win. He's waiting for that moment. As we now will take a moment to get an update on the event with Rosie Hodge out in the channel. Rosie?
Thanks, Joe. I've actually got an update on the wildcard Tiamata and his condition. He went into the beach. He has been stabilized. He was on a stretcher with a neck brace. And chatting to the medics, Kieran just gave me some intel that, you know, it looks like he's okay. He's talking. He's coherent. But they do want to take him into town just to do an MRI on his neck. Obviously, he got massive whiplash from that wipeout. So, you know, whatever the MRI indicates, you know, we'll know a bit better about his condition, but right now he does seem to be stable and to be in okay spirits.
Nice update, Rosie. Thanks a lot for that one. A huge one there for not just Tahiti, but for the global surfing world, appreciating his courage and commitment on his local lineup. And now the focus will be on Michel Perez, as he's the last Tahitian left here in the draw, still going, Potts.
Yeah, big sigh of relief there. And, you know, you don't want to see that. You know, it's one of those moments where, you know, with a wave like this, you know, you could tell by the way he fell, he sort of twisted around and fell backwards and then got that whiplash as he came down on his back. And, you know, that he's got a massive headache right now, but fingers crossed that MRI comes back a-okay. But, you know, good news there.
Well, we've seen that happen, obviously, in free surfs here in Tahiti, but Nathan Hedge was on the wrong side of an injury way back in his final in 2004, dislocating his shoulder way back when. We saw Damien Hobgood run into a ski in his final a few years ago. It's a fairly common theme when you come to Teahupo'o.
Very common theme. I mean, you know, there's going to be a lot of skin left on the reef by the end of this event. I don't think there'll be many guys that will get through unscathed. So, you know, it's just part of the deal here. It's part of, you know, paying your dues when it comes to this kind of wave. You know, you've got to be in it to win it. And, you know, you saw the attitude Owen Wright had. I mean, that's a crazy commitment there, and it was rewarded. And the judges are understanding that, you know, it takes a lot of guts to take off on those kind of waves. And Owen Wright was rewarded for that. I'm really glad to see that the judges are understanding the heaviness of the situation and rewarding that committed, you know, performances there from those guys.
Where head judge Richie Porta talks to the panel each and every morning, and when the judges have an off heat, he'll actually get a chance to get taken on the ski into the channel to look into the tube. As we watch De Souza on his second wave, he gets clipped, and he has to get out of there.
Yeah, I think he kind of got through there for a little bit, but I dare say he might have got sucked up and over. Really hard to penetrate this wave, really hard to get through the back of it. And if you do, you're going to wear the next one on the head no matter what, but there you got sucked up and over. So very hard to get through the back of this wave because there is no back, Joe. It's the whole power of the Pacific Ocean behind it. And look at that, De Souza's going to have to get himself out of that zone. The Water Patrol are going to need to do their job right now. Where is he? Yeah, it looks like he's been picked up already. So the Water Patrol well and truly on it today. Got their work cut out. There he is, getting on the back of the jet ski. Ditch the board as they'll make their way in and around the lagoon. As De Souza is wearing one of those life preservers underneath his wetsuit, getting him to the surface a lot quicker as he gets under the back of the jet ski. So easy to take off on the wrong wave, and I'll tell you what, it's a commitment that you've got to take. You know, some of those ones that don't look like you're going to make them are the ones that end up being the 10-point rides, Joe.
Pretty scary situation when you take off on the wrong wave, turn around, and there's a bigger, especially a west one, coming your way. Happens a lot. Sometimes you have those mixed up swells. Back to this one with Nathan Hedge starting to dig in. Only has a 3.6. Looks down the ledge, airdrops, stomps it.
My goodness.
Wide open pit for Hedge. Arms to the sky, and he flies out.
Is this going to be the first 10 of the day? That was absolute commitment there from Nathan Hedge. That was absolute. Look at that. That just spat straight onto Gordo's camera. That's how close it is to. Wow, that was insane wave there from Nathan Hedge. And did he get out? He got out. Let's have a look at this. Paddles into it. Look at that free fall drop on his tiptoes. Just pulls underneath there, avoiding the guillotine, and comes flying out of the end. So Nathan Hedge, I tell you what, the afternoon has proven really tricky for a lot of guys. And look at that commitment from Nathan Hedge. He is absolutely on edge. I thought he was gone. Manages somehow to set that rail and just duck under the lip there. Nathan Hedge, wow, what a wave from Hedgie. And comes flying out the end, Joe. Talk about commitment.
Really impressive to see how weightless he was on the takeoff. Hedgie knows right away that's going to be a massive score. Two hands to the sky, waited for a long time for that one to come through. What was the hardest part about that ride, Potts?
I think the hardest part about that ride was going for it. He knew he was late. He knew he had to commit to it. And that he did, you know, and that's what I'm talking about. You've got to have that go for it attitude. He was believing that he was going to make that wave. There was not 1 ounce of Nathan Hedge that was doubting the fact that he was going to pull that off. And I think that's what you got to have. He's got, you know, he's got the ability, and he relied on that. He was on his tiptoes dropping down the face of that wave. He managed to just get the edge on the bottom turn and duck under that lip there. And I'll tell you what, had he not ducked, that thing would have taken his head off.
And it comes in at a perfect 10 for Nathan Hedge. When we say perfect, that means every judge thought it would get the best score in pro surfing. Our first 10 of the Billabong Pro Tahiti. We've seen how hard it is to get that perfect number so far this season. They hold back on it, and they wait for a moment where they look back and say there's nothing else that could have been done on that wave. Incredible commitment for Hedgie, using that wild card crazy ability to his advantage. He had that opportunity last year. He could really upset this world title race.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, I called it straight away. I mean, that was by far one of the most radical drops to, you know, drop down, grab the rail, pull it up under the lip, duck, get barrel, get spat out. There was so much going on that wave. The judges had nowhere to go but give it a perfect 10. So Nathan Hedge proven why he was definitely worthy to be put in the trials #1 and now have a shot at some of the world's best.
And he's had such an amazing role in pro surfing this whole year. Up and down results, dealing with battling in beach breaks, and now into his specialty, pulling into the pit once again. Hedgie highlining this first section. And he'll skip out on his way out at the 13-minute mark. Remember, he already has a 10. All he needs is something solid to back it up with. De Souza, meanwhile, got picked up by the ski. He's sitting out the back with first priority, needing a serious comeback roll at this stage.
You know, Nathan Hedge has got to just settle down right now. You can see he's really fired up, and you could see his body motion. He was kind of sitting out the back, kind of trying to tell himself, okay, calm down, relax. It's one wave, it's one good wave. You can see Nathan Hedge there. Looks like he's flicked the board. Did he snap it? See if we can get see what happened there. But he's swimming back out. He's absolutely fired up after that 10-point ride. He doesn't need a jet ski. Give me my backup board, he's saying, and get me back out into the lineup. I want more of this.
How often do we see this with Nathan Hedge? Incredible athlete. He is so fired up. We'll get the inside view from the channel with Peter Mel. How'd that 10 look for you, Pete? I think
Sorry,
Pete
guys.
fell in.
Copy?
Yeah, how'd that feel for you,
Dave,
Peter?
just wanted to let you know. First of all, that wave right there, he needed that one, right, to back up the 10. But the 10 itself was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He dropped in underneath the thing, and if you can look behind me, this thing's gonna come up, but he bottom turned in the barrel, literally in the barrel, which is just something I've never seen before, and of course that's why it's a perfect 10. He's got his backup board, Matt Granger's there. He is gonna head right back out and hopefully back that thing up as I get sucked into the pit.
Be careful, Pete.
It's all right, just right here.
Yeah, Pete can handle it. That's why he's sitting out there. But Hedgie's still
Why
swimming
is he
here.
swimming?
Potts.
I mean, he's got to get on the back of the jet ski. And this baffles me. Number one, where's his caddy? Number two, why isn't he on the back of the jet ski yet?
So
This
still
is a
waiting.
crazy situation. I think he lost his backup board. That was the board we saw going up and over the falls then. So Nathan Hedge, a little bit of a blunder here. It's going to take some time for the Water Patrol to go in and get his boards. Because both his boards now are in the lagoon. As we see someone reluctant to get rid of that board there. This is a crazy situation. It's all happening here today, I tell you, Joe.
A huge one there for Nathan Hedge, swimming all the way to the channel to find another piece of equipment. So spending quite a few minutes without his surfboard. He does have a 10. He's in a great situation, but he let a lot of time roll off the clock, and De Souza still sitting out with priority. Now he'll regain his composure and get out there to compete, Potts.
Yep, just got to settle down, and there we see his board breakdown as we see Nathan Hedge, 6'2.5", 18.5 inches wide, 2 3/8, 26 litres of volume. He's got the Future Fins quad set up and a small swallowtail. I like the small swallowtail, Joe. It's you know, I come off that twin fin era, so I'm really quite partial to the swallow. It gives the board so much more maneuverability, and it just looks better.
Great to see a lot of boards in his quiver too that he has on deck. He had a couple of boards that actually have glass on fins on them. You don't see that too often with how often these guys travel.
Yeah, you know, it just gives it that little bit more strength. You know, I like it. I've got Matt Hoy made me a board with glass in fins, and you can really feel the difference. Unfortunately, it's hard to travel with them because obviously the damage that occurs.
So big heat still to come. Hedgie back in the lineup with a perfect 10. More to come in heat number 2 right after this. Round 2 continues here at the Billabong Pro Tahiti with Nathan Hedge, wild card, earning his spot from the trials, which is just littered with some of the best tube riders in the world. And at the moment, he has a 10 and now looking for a solid backup to eliminate Adriano De Souza from competition. You look at that trials draw when it gets squared away, Potts, and I think one of the big things we saw was the Billabong trusting a lot of their grommets on their program. Guys like Jack Robinson, Griffin Colapinto, Taylor Clark, to get apart, to battle with some of the best tube riders in the world.
You know, and they're all worthy. I mean, that little Jack Robinson showed that he's got as much guts as anyone I've ever seen. You just look at some of the ads of that wave that he went over the falls on. That takes a lot of guts from a little bloke, and he's a charger. Tell you what, he's going to grow up to be a very, very dangerous human, very confident in big waves too, and I'm looking forward to watch that kid's career grow. Really
fun to see him still on hand, surfing this morning, surfing last night. Jack Robinson, write that name down. We'll see him on tour very soon. 750 remaining. Hedge with the 10 and just a 2-point ride. One of the weird things that we've had sometimes in Pipeline and in Tahiti is where someone gets a perfect 10, and every once in a while they won't be able to find a backup. We saw that happen to Kai back at the Pipe Masters, Pots.
That's exactly right. Now, what Hedgie's got to do is just calm down. He's gone through about a 5-minute drama. He had to get rescued. He whipped the leash off, dove under, swam back out, got his backup board, got caught by one of the biggest sets of the day, lost his backup board, and someone had to give him a board. So I wonder if he's actually got his normal board back, the one he's been riding. He's just got to calm down, take a deep breath. At the moment, De Souza with priority, so De Souza only needing a 5.34, but Hedgie carrying a low 2-point ride as his second score. So
now with 7 minutes on the clock here in round 2, heat number 2, let's send it to the desk for an update with Ronnie Blakey, Aki, and Strider.
Cheers, Joe. Yeah, we always talk about these first couple of heats of most second rounds in any World Tour event is when you generally see wildcards coming up against some of the top seeds, and we saw that with Joel Parkinson in the first heat. Tuamata didn't really get a great opportunity to have a good battle with Joel, injuring himself midway through the heat. But at the moment, Nathan Hedge is putting on a masterclass out there.
Oh, isn't he sensational? That was unbelievable, that drop. Like Pete said, he pulled up in the barrel. He almost fell, but it got him deeper. And here it is right here. Let's have a look at it. Slow motion. He slides down. It almost falls off right there. Almost goes over the handlebars, but it gets him deeper, and he just points his front arm to where he wants to be. Just got under the lip there. And I knew when he was going to come out of this, I knew he had it, and I knew it was a 10. So the wild card, so dangerous. Coming up again in the next heat is Mitch Colburn. He's pretty much a wild card too. He's a replacement up against Josh Kerr. That's going to be a big heat.
It is going to be a big one. So Adriano De Souza in a real spot of bother here at the moment. He's been incredibly consistent this year. Hasn't bowed out in the second or third round yet. Strider, he's up against it.
Well, he's not out of it all the way. You know, he's still got some time. There was some confusion there in the channel with surfboards and losing boards, and, you know, there was some heavy, you know, yelling and screaming and Hedgie trying to get something on it, but then he got back on. He's on a board now. He's back out the back, and they're going to go head-to-head still to finish this thing off. Saw
the boys scrambling for the horizon. Let's see if there's any sets on the way.
Thanks, Ronnie, Aki, and Strider. Big points there with De Souza with his back against the wall, against the wild card. Nathan Hedge with a perfect 10. Interesting to note, De Souza's only had 2 round 1 wins this year. As we look back to this wave of De Souza pulling in and out. A quick tube ride as he looks to gain some momentum, Pots.
Yeah, what's he looking for? A 5.4 or something in that range right there. So De Souza, he's, tell you what, is that wave going to put him in the lead? You know, Nathan Hedge needs to improve on that 2 as a backup. Let's have a look. It wasn't one of the biggest set waves. Nice easy in for Adriano De Souza. Pulls up under beautiful positioning there. Comes out nice and clean. So it's going to be interesting to see where that wave fits in into the scale of things. We've seen some incredible waves so far today. And the perfect 10 from Nathan Hedge only minutes ago.
So passing the 5-minute warning, a tough time for De Souza as he's on the road to come back. That score will be locking in just a moment as Nathan Hedge still has the lead. As we start thinking about their totals right now, 12-point total for Hedgie, and Adriano De Souza looking for that 5.34 to move on and move straight into round 3. But interesting, when De Souza used to dominate round 1 when it was a non-priority format, 3-man priority, he's only had 2 events where he's gone straight into round 3.
Well, his hands are tied, Joe. So one of his major weapons has been taken away from him, and that's positioning and you know, strategy, and that's you know, that used to be a major part of surfing. It still is, but it's definitely been you know, tuned down, so to speak, and it's basically what's happened now is it's all the guys have been given an equal opportunity to catch waves. and it doesn't come down to that guy who's got the ability to hassle and put himself on the inside. You know, especially here at Teahupo'o, you know, you've got guys that will get that first wave of the set, paddle back out and push the issue. And here at Teahupo'o, you can't afford to go too deep, so you end up giving up the inside position. And then what Adriano would do would do that. He'd push you so far up that you're way too deep to get the next wave. So they've eliminated all of that. They want to see good surfing, and that's exactly what it's doing. It's producing the best surfing.
And you get clean rotations. We also have the 4-man priority rule now in the Prime and 6-star events on the ASP World Tour. So eliminating a lot of that hassling for position. Right now, first priority is with Nathan Hedge. We saw him swimming for a while, trying to get to the channel for his backup board. Finally made it there. One of the big things his coach Matt Granger was talking about is trying to teach Nathan Hedge to cool the jets sometimes, how to maintain his composure, because he's one of the most fired up humans on the planet.
That he is, and we just saw a little bit of that in that little bit of a mix-up. You know, all he had to do was get on the back of the jet ski, get himself back into the channel, and then get on that backup board. So what he did was he swam back out, and that put him in a really tough situation. As we have a look there now, Nathan Hedge was at a blocking maneuver. He had priority, 2.5 minutes on the clock. We're still waiting for scores to come through. De Souza looking for a 5.34. So that last wave obviously was not enough to put him up into the lead. And Nathan Hedge hanging on by the skin of his teeth right now. It's going to be interesting to see if the priority will switch to the surfer in red. Nathan Hedge, I tell you what, it'll be a real crying shame if he doesn't make it through this heat, because to me that one wave was worth moving through the next round.
Impressive to see the commitment out of Nathan Hedge at this part of his career. Still fearless, even better than he was back in the final in 2004. De Souza, a guy that's involved in the world title race, 7th in the world at the moment, a lot of quarterfinal appearances, had a semifinal start of the Gold Coast. He dealt with a broken nose right before he got to Jeffreys Bay. He had to deal with that oxygen deficiency because he wasn't breathing right due to that broken nose, and it seemed to slow down his tempo and rhythm when it came to Jeffreys. When you think about that scenario on a wave like this, yeah, that could be a little bit scary with big waves coming through.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, you know, when you're out in the water free surfing, normally you can surf for a couple of hours or whatever, but when you've got the intensity and the adrenaline pumping through your body in a 30-minute heat, it's kind of like a 3 to 4 hour surf. It takes that much energy out of you. So, you know, and then you look at waves like Jeffreys Bay that demands so much of that physical fitness, as well as this wave. I mean, we saw how much it took out of Bede Durbridge. He took 2 gnarly wipeouts in the first couple of minutes of the heat, and it really put him on the back foot for the rest of the heat. So, you know, and Bede is one of the fittest guys out there. So you've got to really be so in tune with everything out here at Teahupo'o. Physical fitness and mental fitness is probably at the top of the list.
So big one for De Souza, Potts, with 50 seconds on the clock. He doesn't have priority, so he'll have to try to sneak a wave off of Nathan Hedge. De Souza needs a 5.34. His last wave was a 5.10. Just not enough as we see the paddle for position. Nathan Hedge will take this wave off him if he has to, and they both let it go.
You know, good move there from Hedgie. He didn't need that wave, and De Souza knew that, looking at that 5.10 he got on his last wave, that thing was nowhere near it. So with 20 seconds remaining, Nathan Hedge gets closer to a round 3 berth, and I'll tell you what, he's going to come up against probably the #1 surfer in the world at the moment, Gabriel Medina, and what a heat that's going to be.
Insane roll for Nathan Hedge with 10 seconds on the clock. He had a perfect 10 on his road to victory, creating this major upset. Adriano De Souza, who is looking for one more chance, they're into the countdown, and they'll let this one run through. De Souza gets an equal 25th, and Nathan Hedge moves on to round 3 here at the Billabong Pro Tahiti. Amazing one here as we'll watch this last set run through for Nathan. And Hedgie on to the next one. More action to come. Pat Parnell and Ross Williams for the call right after this.